Hey guys, Geeky Rocket here, and this will be a workbench update number 2 for Alexander Richard Marshall's Nashorn group build. This update will cover the gun assembly and the two sides or two main walls of the fighting compartment, as you can see before me. Again, I'll go through some of the highs and lows in regards to the assembly itself and the instructions, and I'm sure you guys can guess which is the high and which is the low when it comes to Dragon. But without further ado, let's jump into it. You can also see the assembled lower hull. I haven't touched that since the last update, so there's no need to go over that. But I'll start off with the gun assembly itself. And as you can see here, basically typical of what you can expect from Dragon. Superb detail. The engineering is outstanding. Couldn't believe it. Some of the main features, again, you have the aluminum gun barrel. A nice small piece of photo etch right on top there. That was probably the trickiest part of the gun assembly, was getting that to line up with the center of the barrel. Moving along to the muzzle brake, I did fill that seam because it is a two-part muzzle brake. It wasn't too bad, and I think it came out alright. Very pleased with the assembly. This is probably one of the most complex gun assemblies I've built to date, and like I said, I'm quite pleased with how it all came out. I don't know if this is common to all kits, but my kit had a sink mark right in the center of that shield, so I had to go over it with a little bit of putty, and now it is smooth as a baby's bottom. But yeah. Oh, I also got the seat springs fitted, the metal seat springs that came with the kit, and I removed the molded on plastic springs. Again, gives immense detail. Great addition to the kit. Can't really glad that came out nicely. Here you can see the periscope's been drilled out. I know Adam had the same issue. The part that they call for to install there for the periscope, basically from the vertical member down as to where it attaches to the mechanism, is outstanding detail, but the periscope itself wasn't drilled out. There was no molded in detail for it. So basically what Adam did, I think he Frankensteined a clear part and this plastic part together, and it came out amazing. What I did, I basically just drilled out the periscope hole where it should be with a pin vise, and I think it came out just as great as well. Just offering two different ways of how to get around that. Also, what I tried to do, because the pin vise, when you drill into it, it leaves like a conical shape at the bottom of where you're drilling. I actually put some white glue in there just to settle level, or settle flat as to where the lens should be, and then I put, what did I put? I put Magic Sculpt resin actually as well on top of the white glue. You probably won't be able to see it, but it did level out nicely. So it kind of acts or gives a simulated lens effect. I will be able to get in there with a brush and just paint on the lens color. So quite pleased with that. Where the nightmare started with this assembly was the instructions, and again, Dragon just does not know how to properly do their instructions, or I don't know, maybe they're drunk when they have the guys in there doing the CAD drawings for their instructions, but just the way in which they call for the procedure of putting things together is just, I found to be horrible. So I came up with my own procedure. Steps 7 to 9 is business as usual. Nothing wrong there. There's no ifs, ands, or buts or second guessings. So completely straightforward. So follow that 100%. But when you come to 10, that's where everything just goes awry. Basically, they want you to assemble both halves of the gun carriage separately, and then in 11, you basically put everything together. The elevation system, and then you glue both halves of the gun carriage system, this part and that part, down to this bottom assembly. And the bottom assembly, it really, yes, you do have to, you know, have some forethought as to which assembly should be attached to this bottom assembly first. That's probably why they didn't include it in step 10. But moving back to step 10, aside from all the highlighted areas where they were calling for the wrong parts to be glued into the wrong holes, basically this is quite straightforward. Where it gets tricky is gluing this plate right here to the main gun carriage assembly, and you can see how it's attached to just these two thin little pieces. And there's basically, especially if you're not, you know, if you've never built a kit like this before and you're not aware of how it should look at the end of it, you have no way of knowing if this piece is square or in line with this piece, just based on this small little finicky piece here. And again, I'm probably not explaining this, you know, the best, but if you do have this kit, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about when you get to this. So what I did is I glued this small piece onto this plate. I left this vertical member, or this metal piece, or the plastic piece here, off until the final assembly of the gun carriage, and that basically just allowed for me to know 100% sure, without a doubt, that everything would square up and fit as it should, because there is no hard point to glue this metal plate to until you get to the next step. So that may cause some issue. I thought it was going to cause myself some issue. That's why I left it off until that point. And again, with these elevating rods up here, you know, you can, it calls for gluing this in place with this sleeve, but I didn't know 100% sure. It also actually called for it to be glued to the gun carriage, or the side of the gun carriage as well. And again, if you're doing this in order as they say it should be done, you have no idea if this part right here should align up. And I'll actually get the gun carriage itself, aligns up with the elevating system. Well, let's see if we can, it's kind of hard to see, but it basically glues to the side, and the way they want you to assemble it, you have no idea at what angle it's supposed to connect to this elevating system. So again, I left that off. I glued as little as possible until I was 100% sure, and I strongly advise that. You know, the old saying, measure twice, cut once. Well, this is, you know, dry fit twice, glue once, because once you've laid glue on there, it gets all screwy, and then there's a whole mess of cleanup that you'll have to do afterwards if you want it to look anything like it should. But so in doing what I've done, is I kind of planned for this. It kind of happened happily by accident, but because I didn't glue anything until the final step, this allowed me to have elevation play, whereby the gun is completely workable. As you can see there, you can see the elevating pins going inside and out of the sleeve, as it would in real life. Doing it this way gives you immense options for diorama wise. I mean, again, this gun will pivot left to right, but say you wanted it to elevate, well, now you can have it elevated and then glued in place. So, you know, Dragon, as typical, they drop the ball when it comes to their instructions, but as long as you guys have some forethought and stay vigilant, it's not as nightmarish as it seems. But yeah, also in regards to the gun assembly, I found this part here as well. We'll zoom right in. Part D6. You see that small, it's basically, it looks like two small rods attached on top of each other. This piece here, I found. It was where it was supposed to be on sprue D, but this smaller rod up here was not attached to the part. Didn't look like it had broken off. There was no evidence of breakage or anything. I looked at the sprue map. Again, the sprue map. Actually, if we quickly check it. The sprue map actually does show, oops, where is it? That little rod should be there, but on my sprues it was nowhere to be found. Luckily where it is actually situated on the gun carriage itself, it's near the bottom and you'll never see it. So in regards to that, I wasn't too disappointed with it, but it's just, again, if you guys find yourself like, hey, that's not the part that they should be there, don't worry about it, you won't see it. As you can see, it's like, it's really no point. You won't be able to see it all that well anyways. And it won't even focus. Okay, anyways. You'll just have to take my word for it. You won't be able to see it, so don't even worry about it. Now we move along to the walls of the fighting compartment. Very pleased with how this came out as well. This is, like I said before, it was probably one of the most complex gun carriages to put together, and to date this is probably the most PE intensive build that I've ever put together, and I'm really pleased with how it all came together. Very small parts, you need to, again, take your time. These steps, actually just gluing on the PE probably took a couple hours, so don't rush it, take your time. Make sure you have adequate bending tools. I use a small little bending device, and I'll grab that for you right quick. So this is what I use. And two razor blades to secure and bend the parts in place before then gluing on the final shapes to the actual parts. This is a great tool. It's called Etchmate by Mission Models. Couldn't recommend this enough. You know, you'll get 90-degree bends all the time, especially using these razor blades, which you can then slide in between the bottom plate of this and the PE part, and then just nicely bend up. And then what I used to do, what terrified me the most about working with PE, I thought, hey, this is great, like metal parts. When I was younger, this is going back years. You know, you get your CA glue, and you just, you know, dab on the CA glue, and then you're ready to go. However, more times than not, especially with these smaller PE parts, you'll just completely muck it up if you try to just dab on your CA glue with the end of the bottle itself. So what I do is I dab CA glue on the ends of toothpicks. Sorry, wow, I couldn't figure out what to call that for a second. I dab the CA glue on the end of toothpicks, and then gently dab on the areas where the parts should be attached to, and then it's a much nicer and cleaner assembly than if you just use the CA glue right straight out of the bottle. Also here, actually first I'll show you the other one. The other side of the fighting compartment, the interior detail, you have the MG mount, as well as looks like two casings for MG rounds. I believe it's an MG34 rounds. And again, your bracket on the top, that was actually the most difficult piece to bend, just because I believe of the surface area, trying to bend that 90 degrees, that was pretty difficult, but it turned out pretty all right. As you can see there, very thin, and your razor edge parts too are nice in scale. The only issue I had with that, actually I believe it was on this one, yes it was, and I believe Adam definitely had this issue as well with warpage. You can see here, I still have a little bit of warpage. Oops. See how it bows out. It was actually a complete S before I started, and as I was gluing these assemblies to the side of the fighting compartment, I would weigh it down with paint, and actually this long horizontal member, whoops, out of camera shot, this long horizontal member really really gave it the shape that was required, or bent it back into shape. It's now the straightest that it's been. And when I've already dry fitted it to the hull, and now this minor little bow will pop right out. It'll go on without a hitch. So I overcame that, fixed that up. But what I want to draw your attention to is also, again, Dragon dropping the ball with their instructions. I had to do a lot of research as to what embossed elements would remain. As you can see here, see where the parts are pointed to certain embossed regions, and that's just to map out where the parts go, because there's no locating pins or holes that these parts glue into. So I had to do some research as to what should be there, what shouldn't be there. And I believe this must have came from like the command version of the Nashorn, because there is embossed regions everywhere. And they do tell you to remove some, and after you glue in on the parts, you'll notice that there are still some there. So before I glued on the parts, I just erased everything, sanded down everything to a smooth finish where the embossed regions should not be. Here, the one major mistake here, when gluing this stowage box onto the side of the fighting compartment, tells you to go right here, should fit in this embossed region. Disregard that, it won't. This is probably a quarter of an inch longer than this embossed region. It actually glues onto these 4 nibs right nice in place. So that's the only other goof up that Dragon made in their instructions. But all in all, I'm quite pleased with how it came out. You know, the extra detail that the photo etch has given, and for me, trying like I was happy with all the photo etch that they offered in this kit, and I really wanted to show that on this build. This is, like I said, one of the most photo etch intensive builds that I've done to date, and I'm quite happy with the finish that I've achieved. I've actually, on this part, I have left off the periscope, and as you can kind of tell, it is still a little bit workable, but I wouldn't play with it too much, as I will probably break it. But when I do get this all situated on the hull, I will be able to figure out as to where the periscope should sit and how it should sit, because right now it is a little off skew. I will have to play with it a little bit. Again, these are the MG 34 mounts. You saw it on the other wall that I have it mounted in the stowed position. One last thing I want to draw your attention to, on this side where the MG 34 is mounted to the interior of the fighting compartment wall, it was fine. It was clearly defined as to where it should go. But on this side, it tells you to mount it, I don't know, maybe a quarter of an inch lower than the top of the fighting compartment wall. Do not do that. Don't glue that where it tells you to glue it. That is way too low. That's actually going to be in the way of the stowage bins, or for the ammunition storage bins. Do not glue it there. I actually had to consult Tamiya's instructions, and found that basically all you got to do is literally center it with this mounting bracket for this, I'm not even sure what this is called, but this horizontal member. Center it with this bracket, and you'll be good to go. It won't get in the way of anything, and it is exactly where it should be. So if you look at a topographical view of your kit, you'll find that both the MG mounts are just askew. They're just off center of each other, and that's actually how they should be sitting in real life. So again, I had to consult Tamiya's instructions for that, Unfortunately, Dragon didn't do the greatest of jobs in explaining that in their instructions. But you know, what else is new? So all in all, very pleased with the progress. I mean, it isn't. I know Adam's pretty much almost done, and Panzermeister 36 and Alex are way further than I am. But all in all, I am pleased with the progress, and very happy with the build so far. So what's next will be I'll actually be switching gears, and I think I'm gonna go start and build the mini art figure set as well as the diorama that I had planned for this. Just to change it up as well. I'm not 100% sure as to what I want to do with these ammo storage bins. I haven't decided if I'm going to keep one opened and one closed, or how many rounds I'm going to leave out, because I will have the figures kind of restocking the vehicle with ammunition. So when I kind of finalize and figure out exactly how I want it all laid out in the end, I'll probably come back to this and finish this up. But there's not much left to do. It's just basically putting all the interior parts together, or sub-assemblies together, and the kit's almost done. But yeah, so as for that, that's the plan going forward. And hope you guys enjoyed it. And I hope to get another update to you guys as soon as possible. So bye for now. Cheers.